All right, this lecture is in continuation of the previous one, in which we basically learned how to attempt paper 4. So in the last one, I just tried to describe the recommended format when it comes to the first question, which is evaluation based, in which basically we learned how important it is for us to find the answers to the questions why, how, and however, whatever you discussed. You have to justify your statements. You have to come up with reasons. There has to be some logic to whatever you are suggesting. And similarly, the question how is important. You have to describe the methodology that, in your opinion, must be adhered to. This is how an entrepreneur should carry out a task. And however, also, it's extremely important to show the flip side also. In addition to the pros, the cons need to be discussed too. And of course, as you move along the timeline, I'm talking about the first question. We've already had a detailed discussion on this. You will just comment on the decisions taken by a business. So, for instance, if it says in 2016 they decide to launch a website, so you need to comment on that, both favorably, and if there's an adverse comment, that too. That yes, if they launch a website, XYZ private limited company, it would give them an access to a wider target audience. But of course, the initial cost has to be kept in mind, and the involvement of technology or the dependence on technology that can also be discussed as a possible risk factor, so on and so forth. So coming to question number 2, again, as I described previously, try to assess the situation, read the passage carefully. You've already done that, obviously, because this is question number 2 that we are about to discuss. And also try to see how the question is phrased. The very first word is advice, right? Which suggests that you have to act in an advisory capacity. You have to, attempt the question in such a way that you are a consultant and you are recommending ways and means to the management as to how the current strategy can be modified, the pros and cons both, and what are the other possible strategic management related steps that might be taken to bring about an improvement for optimum results. So read the question carefully. You might come across terminology such as operational strategy. So when it says operational strategy, then needless to say, you have to be more inclined towards section 4, operations management. So there's a high probability that your discussion will revolve around lean production or inventory management or quality control, or maybe a comparison between batch and flow production, so on and so forth, because it says operational strategy. Then if it says HR strategy, then of course the focus has to be on all those personnel management related activities like recruitment and training and motivation, and something about the organizational structure. Do you think they should switch from a centralized structure to a decentralized one, and why? Or do you think a matrix structure will be a more appropriate one in the given situation, so on and so forth, right? So read the question carefully and come up with the answer accordingly. Excuse me. Okay. So again, if it says, recently there was a question in which financial strategy was mentioned. So obviously in that case, you have to refer more to section 5, accounting and finance, and investment appraisal might have to be carried out, ARR, payback, NPV. They're very popular with the examiners otherwise also, if you are talking about paper 3. And then maybe a discussion based on the source of finance, as to which source of finance is more suitable in the given situation, why not, and possibly ratio analysis. Gearing ratio could be significant here to assess the dependence of the business on bank loans, or something about liquidity or profitability. So again, at the cost of repeating myself, try and read the question, comprehend the question first, understand the question. It's very, very important for us, because you see, the first half of the answer, the first part, would be primarily with reference to the strategy or the activity which is which is mentioned there in the question. Sometimes, you might come across something pertaining to those typical strategic management related topics like core competence, 5 force analysis. Then discuss that in detail. And then in the second half, you can refer to the other strategies, right? You have to keep this in mind. Okay. So once you have discussed operational strategy or HR strategy or financial strategy or marketing strategy, which obviously would demand an explanation of the 4 P's and 4 C's. In the second half, maybe 60% weightage can be given to the first part, and the remaining 40-50% of the answer, that should be a blend of other appropriate strategies, those typical strategic management based topics like pest analysis, SWOT analysis, something about the Ansov's matrix. Do you recommend product development there or market extension? Decision trees, comparing the available options, and then reaching a conclusion on the basis of the expected outcome. Could be core competence. Could blue ocean strategy and red ocean strategy, they are highly relevant to these business strategy based questions. This don't forget this. The title of this P4 is business strategy, right? So a comparison between blue ocean and the red ocean strategy. And then, of course, don't forget, advise them as to this is the appropriate plan of action. Justify your statements, and of course, discuss the drawbacks also. So the answer, as I've just tried to describe, it will be a combination of, it will be a blend of numerous strategies, focusing, first of all, more on the one which is mentioned in the question, whether it is operational or HR or finance or marketing or whatever. But in the second half, you have to suggest and justify other strategies also. So if you really want to do well in this question and this paper overall, you need to have a very firm grip over those strategic management related topics, like I just mentioned, PEST and ANSOF and 5 forces and force field analysis and all that. Because all of this knowledge, anything that is pertinent, anything that is relevant to the case study, that goes without saying, because application is of the essence. Go through the passage, try to understand the chain of events, and then suggest a strategy that fits in. Yes, I agree, it's going to be a lengthy answer, undoubtedly, but of course it is a race against time. That is why I keep telling my students that written practice is extremely important. That improves your writing speed in addition to your writing skills. So you have 1 hour 15 minutes overall for paper 4. And, if you spend 5 to 10 minutes reading the passage, you're left with something like 30 or 35 minutes per question, per 20 mark. Yes, you have to be quick because there has to be an introductory paragraph also, as I described previously. All 3 boxes must be ticked in the introductory paragraph, which were, again, at the cost of repeating myself, give the background, always identify the problem, and define the key term. That has to be your introductory paragraph. And similarly, a concluding paragraph is also needed. In the concluding paragraph, you just have to recommend to the directors. There could be a piece of advice in the end, briefly, but always try to wrap it up, wind it up nicely in a presentable way. In all these essay type questions, which are data response based or case study based, I'm referring to paper 2, 3, and 4, all 3. For all the essay type questions that carry 8 to 20 marks, it is advisable to have an introductory paragraph and a separate concluding paragraph also. It adds a touch of quality to the answer, right? So hopefully, if you adhere to this methodology, you will have a firm grasp over paper 4 also, and you should do fine, inshallah. All right, until next time.